Friday, August 31st, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to talk about the unaccounted or missing 21 trillion from the U.S. government. I want to give my take on this question and how it applies actually to the Federal Reserve. And I'll talk about it a little bit later after I've looked at what the markets are doing. It's 8:10 a.m. London time, so let's see where we are this morning. Well, right now, spot gold is actually up. It's up $7 at 1207. The high has been 1208.60 and the low has been 1198.50. So gold rebounding quite well this morning, which is unusual in the last few months. Silver is up 10 or up 0.75%. So outperforming gold slightly. It's at 1465. Range has been 1452 to 1468. The Dow is down 6. Yesterday we had a down day. I think it was down about 130 points. And it did close just below 26,000. Right now it's only down 8 points, 25,982, the Dow futures. S&P actually is virtually unchanged, just up half a point. The future at 2901. NASDAQ 100 future is up 5 points, 76.47. So the currencies actually, they're quite steady, even though the precious metals or the real currencies are doing quite well. The pound is only up 11 pips against the dollar at 130.22. The euro is up 17 pips or 0.15%. At 116.88. So yeah, gold and silver are performing quite well relative to the fiat currencies, and the dollar is down just about 4 pips against the yen, so virtually unchanged, just below 111 at 110.95. Other currencies, the Chinese currency, while the dollar is down 1/3% there at 684. Oil is continuing to creep higher. It just doesn't seem to want to go that much lower below 65. The WTI right now it's $70.15, up 10 cents. The key level there I think is around 74, 75 on the upside. So keep an eye on that. The emerging market currencies have kind of calmed down this morning. The Turkish lira is up 1.8% against the dollar. Dollar is at 652. Brazilian currency yesterday crept up again, came back. Well, the dollar crept up again and then came back down, and the dollar's settled at 4.15 against the real. Right now it's closed, of course. The Italian government bond we need to keep an eye on. Yesterday we spiked to 3.22 yield, which is quite high. So things are looking a bit shaky for Italy. Today, of course, is the last day of the summer, if you want to call it, and we get Labor Day on Monday in the U.S. It's a holiday, and then the fall season kind of starts, and this is historically not a great period for financial markets. So it will be interesting, and all the politicians that spend our money and draw up budgets are coming back to do that. So right now the Italian 10-year yield is down 3 basis points at 3.19. So I'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, the missing 21 trillion. It's a hot topic in the alternative media, especially. You don't hear much about it on the mainstream media. I found a good article actually on Forbes.com, which is quite mainstream. It is from December 8th, 2017, and it's actually written by Lawrence Kotlikoff, who was involved in finding this with Catherine Austin Fitz, and also with Professor Mark Skidmore, who's from a professor of economics from Michigan State University. So I'll go through a little bit of what this article says. I'll put a link to it below in the description. I recommend you read it. It's not that long. So basically it says, has our government spent 21 trillion of our money without telling us? So I'll go over the article a little bit, and then I'll tell you what I think it has to do with the Federal Reserve. Lars Kotlikoff says, I am co-authoring this column with Mark Skidmore, a professor of economics at Michigan State University. And then he quotes the Constitution. No money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law, and a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7, the U.S. Constitution. So he goes on to say in this article that he co-wrote with Mark Skidmore, on July 26, 2016, the Office of the Inspector General, or OIG, issued a report. Army General Fund adjustment not adequately documented or supported. The report indicates that for fiscal year 2015, the Army failed to provide adequate support for 6.5 trillion, yeah, that's with a T, trillion dollars in journal voucher adjustments. According to the GAO's Comptroller General, General Accounting Office, GAO, journal vouchers are summary level accounting adjustments made when balances between systems cannot be reconciled. Often these journal vouchers are unsupported, meaning they lack supporting documentation to justify the adjustments, or are not tied to specific accounting transactions. For an auditor, journal vouchers are a red flag for transactions not being captured, reported, or summarized correctly. So this is the gist of it. There's a lot of what he calls not adequately documented or supported, adjustments. And from this, they've gone on to look at other, the accounts going back to 1998. And Catherine Austin Fitts has been involved in this as well. And they found that there's a total of 21 trillion in, and I quote, in unsupported adjustments that have been reported for the Department of Defense and the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the years from 1998 to 2015. So it seems to me that this 21 trillion is just from two departments of the government. So it could be even more, and it's only from 98 to 2015. What about from before 1998, from after 2015? So this is a huge problem. I won't go through the rest of the article, but you get the idea. So there's a lot of money missing, unaccounted for, 21 trillion. The author, Mr. Kotlikoff, goes on to say how he got this from a website that they published, the OIG website, that they took the files down, they put it back. There is some, after he looked and started talking about. So there is something there that smells, right? 21 trillion, and it could be a lot more, of course. So what would you do personally if you went, your accountant came to you and said, look, and let's say you're a wealthy individual and you have several bank accounts, you do a lot of business transactions, says, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Smith, I found that you're missing about $2 million in the last 5 years, and I don't know where it's going. I mean, if it was me, the first thing I would say to my accountant, have a look at my bank accounts, where the money is going, where, who's taking this money and where is the money going? I mean, that's where it's banks that move money, right? So it's the Federal Reserve. According, you look at Office of Fiscal Service, it says here on Wikipedia, the office represents the Secretary of the Treasury and the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board. It goes on to say, and serves as a liaison to the Federal Reserve System in its capacity as Treasury's fiscal agent, right? So the Treasury is the fiscal agent. The Federal Reserve System is the fiscal agent of the U.S. Treasury. What else does the Fed do? Well, according to the federalreserve.gov website, the Federal Reserve conducts intra-governmental payments. Government agencies regularly pay each other for foods and services. So FedWire fund services. The Federal Reserve is the fiscal agent for the government. So we should be able to find where this 21 trillion is missing, where it's going through by looking through the Federal Reserve System. I would say I might be wrong. There might be another bank that does this for the U.S. government. Maybe J.P. Morgan. I don't know. But it seems to me that if you want to try to find this missing money or unaccounted 21 trillion, you need to start with your banker. What else does the Federal Reserve.gov website says? Well, I found here on this publication by them, it says audits by the General Accounting Office, GAO, right? It says the General Accounting Office is required by statute to certify the annual consolidated financial statements of the United States. As a result, the GAO conducts an annual audit of the Treasury's key financial reporting and accounting systems so that it can certify the statements. Because many of the Treasury systems are either operated or receive data from Federal Reserve systems, these Federal Reserve operations also fall within the scope of GAO audit attention. In addition to the usual review balance, the GAO conducts reviews of the physical and logical controls over access to Federal Reserve networks and systems that handle or process Treasury transactions. The GAO has concluded that Federal Reserve controls provide adequate safeguards. Well, there you go. Maybe that's why the Federal Reserve and Congress don't want the Federal Reserve to be audited. Ron Paul and Rand Paul have been trying to audit the Federal Reserve, but they use the excuse that politicians shouldn't be involved in monetary policy. But as you see, the Federal Reserve is more than just a monetary policy maker. It's also the bank for the United States Treasury, the United States government, it seems to me. And it works closely with the General Accounting Office. So why don't they want an audit? I'm sure Mr. Skidmore and also Mr. Kotlikov and Catherine Austin Fitts would be delighted to work together with the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve to try to find the missing 21 trillion or maybe even more trillions. The other thing I would say, the New York Fed. The New York Fed is responsible for foreign, how can I say, basically, let's say a bank in California or a bank in Michigan or Florida, they want to wire funds abroad. It all goes through the New York Fed. So I would say as well the New York Fed would be important to look at, to audit, because maybe a lot of this money is going offshore to tax havens or to foreign entities. So that's why I wanted to that's my take on it. Yes, it's not good. There's a lot of missing or unaccounted trillions out there. But I would say one of the best ways to find where this money is going is to go to your banker and comb through all the accounts. I'd like to thank all the new subscribers, existing subscribers for their interest in the channel, for their donations and contributions to the channel. If you'd like to contribute, there's some links below in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can follow me also on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.